Hey y'all, it's Jasmine Ki'Amber, host of What School Didn't Teach Me, and I'm so excited for y'all to hear our conversation on the radical woman and how you can be one. Welcome to the vault.
Welcome to the Vault, a sacred space for sisters to just be and be free. Here's where the soulful secrets of sisterhood, spirituality, and self-awareness are unlocked, only on Venus Day. I am your keeper of the vault, Vee, and I just had to ask, are you ready to be free? Welcome back to the Venusian Vault. I'm your absolute favorite Venusian V, and I already know y'all are ready to be free. Otherwise, you won't be looking at me and the absolute best podcast host in the country, Miss Jasmine Ki'Amber Whitley. Yes, your full government. So, Ki'Amber, I won't even do a long and drawn out intro. I just want us to get into it and let people be immersed in the vault meeting the classroom for what, the second time?
The third.
The
third.
If you love me, just say that. If you love me, just say that. Okay. So tell us about you for the third time, and then tell us what brings you into the vault.
Okay. Well, hi. I'm Jasmine Ki'Amber. I am a mental health advocate. I am what is it? Is it a bachelor recipient?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a bachelor's. Right. I have a bachelor of arts in psychology. I'm very proud of that. I'm the founder of a nonprofit called the Have Foundation, where we go and we provide mental health resources to the communities near us. I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a sister, all the things.
Okay. So what are we talking about today? What are you bringing us into the vault with? Secrets, with sisterly feelings? What are we doing today?
I don't know if we're bringing in secrets, but I definitely think we're bringing in sisterly feelings, because today we're talking about being the radical woman.
Okay. Tell the people what a radical woman is, because
I don't think I have a general definition for what the radical woman is, but I was already telling you earlier, Shirley Chisholm is my girl. When I think of radical action, when I think of being bold in your faith or in your belief in yourself, I think of Shirley Chisholm. So I think the radical woman is the woman who does things for herself, not in a way that does not consider anyone else, but in a way that does not let anyone else stop her.
Okay, so in what way do you embody the traits of a radical woman?
I think that I've always marched to the beat of my own drum. Like, I didn't have siblings. I'm an only child, so there was literally nobody that you could compare me to. I always knew, like, I want what I want. I always knew what I wanted, and I was just going to go for it. I was just going to go get it. And so growing up, I've always been very determined, very bold, very, like I said, I marched to the beat of my own drum. And I think as I've gotten older and honestly wiser, I am just more particular about what I advocate for, what I become passionate about, and what I decide to be radical about.
Okay. So for a little context, I'm going to tell the people my perception of you.
Go ahead.
So the reason I chose this podcast episode specifically for Ki'Amber is because her obedience to God and her trust in herself is unmatched. I have seen you conquer battles that would have taken anyone else out with ease and grace. You make it seem like following the voice of God, listening to your intuition, and going after all of your passions and purpose. It's simple. It's like you wake up and say, man, what systems are we about to conquer today in the name of the Lord? And it's like, Ki'Amber, that's no small feat. And so you are a radical woman in my eyes because you are always determined to be a vessel of God's love and his greatness. And you don't let anything or anyone pivot you from that path. You're open to growing, and you're also open to encouraging others to do the same. So I just wanted to tell you, I chose the radical woman, not because you know radical women, but because you embody through integrity what a radical woman looks like from my eyes and from the eyes of those who love you and are blessed to know you.
Thank you.
So yeah, and a little more context. Y'all see we're in the car. This is a new form of the vault because never done an episode in the car. But we are here because Ki'Amber has encouraged me to continue to be a radical woman beyond my doubts, beyond my feelings or whatever I'm experiencing. She challenged me to be consistent, to keep my word to myself and to push through. And so I appreciate you for that because of you, I remember I too am a radical woman. Mm-hmm. So even if it's not the perfect episode and it's not in the fancy condo I may have dreamed it would be in, it's beautiful to know that there's nothing in this world that's going to stop two people who love the Most High from doing high things in His honor. And so I'm excited for this episode.
Me too.
Because people get to see like, man, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter what we're talking about, we're committed to this path. And that's a radical woman. A woman who dares to pursue her purpose fiercely, even if she can't do it fearlessly.
I like that. I like that a whole lot.
It's from the heart. So, all right, I'll get back on track. So, you mentioned earlier that you not only started your own nonprofit, the Have Foundation,
yes,
but also that you have your own podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, What School Didn't Teach Me.
Yes.
How do you combine your passion for helping others with your pursuit as a woman who is radical on behalf of her self-love and her self-care?
That's a great question. I think, and I hate to run it back to faith. Like I hate to always turn back to like my faith talk or to talk about like how important God is in like my daily routine. But I think that's really how you bounce it off. I think that's how you combat fear. Like when I'm on my podcast, I'm vulnerable. I put it on the line. I put everything that I've been through. I give them that, you know what I'm saying? When I've been doing my self-care, I give them that information. When I haven't been taking as good care of myself, I tell them that. I'm open with them. With my nonprofit, we are out there in the community like telling kids, because right now we're working with the school, so it's kids. I was sitting in those seats not too long ago, what feels like yesterday but was actually 3-4 years ago, and I am reliving sitting in those seats with them, and I'm supposed to be vulnerable and I'm supposed to be transparent. And honestly, I think that in itself is radical. I think not letting the things that I've been through or the things that used to keep me down, the things that used to make me sad, the things that used to trigger me, I think taking those things, letting God heal me through those things, and then now using them to empower me or using them to empower other people. You're not alone when you feel sad. You don't have to feel XYZ. You don't have to stay with this person just because XYZ. Like using what I have been put through to empower others, I think that is what makes it so radical. I think that's what makes me radical.
That's beautiful. So how did you even get to the point of wanting to identify or being identified as a radical woman? Was it a feeling? Was it an experience with God? What led you to even embody this type of woman?
I think I've always been insane. I think like
really?
Yes, like I think I've always been like pow. Like I've always been a little diva. And so I've always been like, this is me. I'm here. You're not going to ignore me. You're going to see me. Whether that was for good or evil, that's always who I've been. I think I was like, you know, like I said before, like I grew up just a very determined, bold, wild child in a sense. And so I think it was a matter of using my powers for good. Because I think I've always been radical in a way, or always been very just bold and passionate, and now I'm just using them for good.
I like that. I can agree. I believe I've always, I won't say been out there, but I've always been very fierce. I think that's a great word to describe me. I've never allowed anything to stop me from pursuing what I set my mind to. And a lot of my friends from like my youth will tell you I'm very strong-minded in a positive way. I'm not easily influenced, but I'm always determined to reach a certain goal. And so when I think about the traits I embody that makes me radical, honestly, It's the mere fact that I know I believe in myself. I believe in my path. But most importantly, my path is based on the fact I want to serve others. That I want to utilize my gifts in a way that benefit the world, but also in a way that I can benefit from too. And a lot of times people are not brave enough to be authentic or to be creative or to pursue what their souls desire. And so my radicalness comes from wanting soul fulfillment and wanting to help others reach that point within their own lives. Hence the vote. So are there any women that you were raised by, that you encountered, who embodied traits of a radical woman and inspired you to do the same?
I think matriarch is the word, right? Like the whole maternal side of my family. We may not all be loud and wild and outwardly passionate, but we are all driven. And we always credit my Mima. And I think if my Mima were here, she's alive, but I think if my Mima were in the room, she would credit her mother, because, you know, she and I have had conversations about her mother. And she describes her mother as, how can I say it? Like, she could do it all. You know, I describe my mother as Miss Make It Happen, you know, like, so I think the whole matriarch that I've been introduced to has been if you want something, go get it. Like, my mother has never really stopped me from going to get something that I wanted. My Mima, when she decides she wants to do something, when she decides she wants to redecorate the whole living room, she does it on a random Wednesday. When she decides I'm gonna go buy a house just so it can be my play space so I can decorate it, she does it. If she decides she's gonna bake 5 cakes to have 3 for later and 2 for now, she's gonna do it. My mom, when she puts her mind to something, she does it, and she has poured that into me just since I was little. Like, whatever I wanted to do, Mom, I want to ice skate, she's paying for classes. Mom, I want to be in gymnastics, I'm in gymnastics. Whatever I wanted to do, she was like, okay, let's make it happen. Mom, I want to pick up crocheting, I'll pick up crocheting for 2 weeks and I'll put it down. She will fund it. She will make it happen. Like, Mom, if I said, Mom, I want to be an equestrian and I want to go ride a horse, she'd be like, oh my God, well, let's get you some cowgirl boots. Like, she will help me make it happen. And I think her being so supportive for me is what fuels that, because it's like, even when I was younger, it was like, if my mama says something, if my mama didn't say something to me, you can't say anything to me. Or if my mom gives me that stamp of approval, I don't care what's happening, I'm already on go.
When you were younger, I'm still like that. If my mama say I'm not wrong, I'm not wrong.
I'm not wrong. No. So I think they played a big part in terms of women that I've been fueled by. I think I've been surrounded by a lot of women who have been, use the word like headstrong. I think I've been always surrounded by women who are headstrong, women that I need to call, who have always been headstrong, are always gone for what they wanted, have always like been successful, and have poured that same thing into me. So it's more so, it's yes, what I've seen, but more so what has been spoken on my life and poured into me.
I admire that. I think it's even more beautiful because sometimes when I'm doing the podcast, I think I don't get to touch on the sisterhood piece as much as I want to. So it's one thing to talk about the sisterhood component, but it's a whole nother thing to embody that in our interactions, and for you to also give credit to the women you've encountered.
Yeah.
Because like I told you earlier, I don't know if I told you this. I think I did. We're not meant to do the journey alone.
Of course.
I think another form of being a radical woman is vulnerability. Is being able to open up and allow others to support you on your journey. Because yes, we can give, and we enjoy to give to others. But it's even more of an act of self-love and of communal love. When you're able to welcome others to pour into you the very things that you need, or the very things they just love to give. So I admire that. I admire that. And everyone doesn't have that type of feminine guidance. They don't, but it's important, especially in the life of a young Black woman.
That's true.
Because it gives us that idea of, when I see my roots and the women I came from can accomplish this and they believe in me, that means I'm strong. And I just said this in the last episode. My grandmother always tells me, you come from a line of strong Black women. And not only does she tell me, she shows me through her actions, through my mother, through my aunt, through the very things that conquered that. Honestly, I'd have to ask them, I don't see how you overcame that. But it's like, that's in our blood. And I'm honored to be a part of my bloodline, because not only are they radical women, they're great women. And they're godly women. And I'm honored to even be a continuation of that. So yeah, I'm not going to get simpy. You know, we love the family, but
It's okay. In the vault.
Absolutely. Oh, that's what we do. You know, y'all are challenging me even more these days. We won't talk about that. So let's see. Now I have to shift it, because as much as we're talking about women's empowerment, we do come into play in a patriarchal society. And so with that comes different stereotypes about women and different forms of oppression that may try to hinder women. How would you encourage a young woman as yourself, or like me, to continue to be radical even when society tries to oppress her or suppress her?
It's all about who you're around. Because what
environment.
Exactly. Not even your environment. Well, yes, your environment, but like, I mean your friends. I'm so big on community. The people you are around, what they're doing, how they speak to you, how their actions influence yours. What I thought you were going to say was, like, how do you maintain being a radical woman in a patriarchal society?
Well, that's question 2, but
well, you're fine. But it's the same thing. It's be mindful of who you're around, because while I do live in a patriarchal society. I hope I'm saying that right. My tongue.
I got tongue twisted.
My tongue is so twisted. But while I am in a space where being man is king, where I am in a country where it is so much, you get a lot more benefits corporately being a man. I think for me, it's the men that I'm around don't treat me like that.
Absolutely.
So if I am choosing who I can be around, if I'm choosing who I give my energy to, and the men that I'm around don't treat me like that, they know that I'm a woman and I am a radical woman. They know that I'm a woman and I am a fierce woman. They know that I'm a woman and I stand on business. I'm a woman that stands on boundaries. I'm a woman that demands respect. When I go into different environments, I come in with that same energy. And I don't have to do anything, and I don't have to say anything. It's just the way that I live. I have to be stern with myself too. I have to set boundaries for myself too. If they treat you like this, if they disrespect a boundary, you have a job. You have to leave. So I'm like, when I feel some type of way in the space that I'm in, I have to learn to leave. So that's how I maintain my spark, but then also my sanity in the world that we live in. Because if I just accepted everything that came my way, if I just accepted everything that came my way, any situation that, like being in rooms that did not deserve me and did not respect me, I would dim my light, and I would be dimming my light for nothing.
I love how you reframed it though. So many times, like I've done a couple of these interviews, and we talk about the patriarchy briefly because don't want to give them too much power. I love how all of y'all focus on what we as women can do, the power that we have. It's not about, oh, they say this about us, the world tries to make us do this. It's about how we respond to it.
Yeah.
And so I believe that is another component of being a radical woman. Understanding that the power lies within you. It's not to be taken or diminished by anyone unless you make the active and conscious choice to allow it.
Yes.
And then the environment or community component is important too, because I also agree. I don't have anyone in my tribe who belittles women. Like the black men around me will continuously tell you how much they admire black women, how much they benefit from black women, not in like, oh, she does this or does that, but just because she exists, it encourages me to be a better man. Just because she got on me one time about this, I now see the benefits of it in this area, So they understand the harmony that comes from and the growth that comes from accepting and embracing black women as we are. So thank you for not saying like, oh, the patriarchy needs to do this and that. No, the patriarchy has been like that. It's probably never going to change. However, it's beautiful to have a black woman tell other black women, keep your power. Don't take it back, but keep your power. That's a part of being radical. Understand the world doesn't define you. Society doesn't own you or tell you what you can and cannot do. You define yourself. You determine your path and your destination. But most importantly, like you said, you pick who goes with you on that journey and who influences you on that journey.
For sure.
So hey, that's dope. I like that. Okay. So has there ever been an experience you had in society or just in your life in general where you did not feel like a radical woman?
Oh yeah. I think we've all heard the saying, like, we can be our worst enemy. And I think that sometimes the world isn't trying to take your power, you're trying to take your power. I think for a huge part of my life, it's like you've got when I was a little girl and who I am now, but then you've got that big gap of like teenage, adolescence, all those things. And I think there was a huge part of my life where I did not realize how much power I had. I didn't realize, not just as an individual, because every single individual has power, but as a woman, like as a young woman, as a teenage girl, like whoever I was at the time, I don't think I realized how much power my voice held, how much weight my thoughts held. Like, I don't think I realized the power that I had, and therefore did not give myself any credit for just who I was. And I think now I'm coming back to that. I think now, I want to say starting at the age of like 19, 20 was me really taking my power back from like really the devil, like those negative thoughts, those anxious thoughts. Because I think that's really what killed it. Like anxiety, depression can really make you feel like your voice does not matter, really make you feel like you are not seen, not heard, not understood, really make you feel like you could go missing and nobody would notice and nobody would care. Those are not the ideas of a radical woman. Like, those are not the ideas, those are not the behaviors of a person who invokes change. And I think if I want to be a person who invokes change, if I am a person who shows up and impacts people, even when I don't mean to, even when I don't want to, even when I don't intend to, it's like I have to remember the weight that I really do hold, and not in a cocky sense. But I'm constantly having to remind and relearn, like, hey, you may feel anxious right now, but remember that you can come out of that. Remember that you can take your power back. So I don't think anybody's ever actually tried to take my power that I can remember, except for my like 6th grade math teacher. I think for me, anxiety and depression, like I tried to take my own power, and then I didn't feel so radical. And then when I came out of that, it reminded me how strong I am. And it's like, oh, like, baby, if I can overcome my own thoughts, 1, I can do it again, which means I don't ever have to be in that negative space again.
Amen.
But 2, I can help somebody else, and then we can all be radical people. Like, we can all just be bold and authentic and genuine to who we are. Because it's not about being like radical, loud, fierce. It's not about being that. It's about being like honest with yourself and like who you actually want to be. So yes, there have been times that I haven't felt so radical, but that's because the enemy saw what was on my life, and I had to take that back. Yeah.
So is that where your passion for mental health reform comes in? Through your own personal experiences?
Oh yeah. Yes. I struggle with mental health for a huge part of my life. Like, I know as little as 5, I had separation anxiety. Really bad separation anxiety, which turned into social anxiety, which turned into just anxiety, which turned into depression, and so on and so forth. I watched my mother struggle with mental health. I watched her struggle. I remember like just very obvious moments where there was something wrong and I couldn't help. And I remember how that made me feel. And I know for a fact that my Mima, that's my grandmother, struggles with anxiety. And my peepaw calls it worries. We'll be like, you worrying just like your mima. And it's like, no, you need to get her checked out. You need to check on her. So yes, that's definitely where my passion for mental health comes from. My advocacy for, my advocacy for people learning who they can be without anxiety and without limitations, because I had to figure that out for myself.
A radical act of self-love.
Yeah.
I admire that. I do. I remember when we did your interview to figure out what the topic would be, you talked about how being able to radically choose yourself in certain circumstances is what encouraged you to even want to talk about this on the podcast. So would you say that when you were overcoming battles with mental health, that was a form of radically choosing yourself, facing yourself?
Yes. I don't think I saw it that way at the time, because at the time I was in high school. So like I feel like I really started to be intentional about fixing my mental health, like addressing and reframing my, what is it? Is it shape of mind? What is it?
Framework?
State of mind.
State of mind. Like
really reshaping my state of mind in high school. I think I just got really, really sick and tired about how I was feeling, and I'll never forget, I was in class and the communications teacher, I was in communications class. It wasn't even my class, but I was sitting in that class, and at the end of class, the professor said, people always choose what they think is best. If they didn't think it was best, they would choose something else. And I was like, I think we were talking about religion, but I was like, you choose self-sabotage because you think self-sabotage is best. But if you didn't think it was best, you would choose something else. Well, I hate how I feel when I self-sabotage. So why not try not doing that?
Choose a better road.
Right. And I don't think I saw it as, I didn't necessarily see it as choosing myself at the time. I think it was just trying to, and I hate to be so graphic, but at the time it was like trying to want to live. Because for a long time it was like, life is fragile, like who cares? But it was like trying to want to live, trying to actually enjoy like the person I was. And okay, everybody's telling me that I'm gonna be something in life. Who is that person? Trying to figure out who I am. Yeah. And just being intentional about that.
Yeah. Thank you for being authentic and honest. Truly. Sometimes I notice with certain Black people or Black women specifically, we can be so strong and we don't necessarily check in on our mental health and our well-being, or we don't have these types of conversations because we either think we're not supposed to, we think that it's going to be detrimental to our material pursuits or our relationships, or we just don't have the time and energy to address it. And so sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner because of all the different expectations, responsibilities, or roles that we have on our plate. But it's so important to understand that, like you said, we choose what's best for us. Yeah. So we're not satisfied with who we are, where we are. We have to not radically just accept it, but radically make a choice to say, I'm going to pursue better for myself. Yeah. But it all starts with the change of your mindset. Yeah. And I think as a person who also has and sometimes still does struggle for mental health, I'll say imbalances, because I try to be all over the place. I think the hardest part of it is that I get so upset with myself because I will allow it to conquer me for a period of time. And then I'll say, but you're not going to give up. You never do. You're not going to stop. You never do. You get down in the pits, you sit here, you rock and shake on the floor and say, God, save me. And then a few days later, you stand up and say, all right, what I got to do? Yeah. So why do you lay down and stay down for that long in the first place? Why not just keep going? And so in this season of my life, a form of radical self-care looks like what you're witnessing now. I'm pushing through even when I don't feel like it. I'm trying even when a part of my head is like, you're messing up. You're making a mistake. Why are you doing this? I'm tired. I don't feel like it. I can't do it. I'm doing the things that I know are going to benefit me, even when I don't feel like I can. Even when that version of myself that I used to be is like, no, this isn't right. This is different. This is unfamiliar. Sometimes being radical for me looks like I got to go against my own self. Right. I have to do things that may make me so uncomfortable or that may go completely against my state of mind or framework in order to pursue the unknown. But it's like you get so fed up with where you are, you have to utilize that power we talked about to actively make a change. And I just didn't want to be victim of my own life anymore.
Okay.
Girl,
There you go.
that's what I'm saying.
Okay. And
Right. But no, I'm like, I sat there, I felt my feelings, and like I literally don't think about that argument, or when I think about it, it does not trigger me. And I realize when I sit there and I feel my feelings, things, I either stop thinking about them or they don't trigger me. I say that to say, when you feel those days, when there are days where you feel like you're laying shaking on the floor like, God help me please, just let yourself feel it. And it's gonna hurt. Like, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna feel a little uncomfortable. It's not necessarily gonna be the funnest thing in the world, but that's how it goes by quicker.
yeah, I'm in my season of radical acceptance. So I do indeed let myself feel it, but I don't let it, what's the word? I don't let it drown me.
Yeah.
I let it flow. Because if you let it drown you, that means that your thoughts, your behaviors, it's all heavily influenced by what you're feeling.
Yep.
But I've learned to just trust, like, hey, my body don't want to move. I got to sit in this. I'm going to sit in this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more so having that awareness of my thoughts that has been so critical. Because, yeah, you feel the feelings will come. But that doesn't mean that the feelings are facts. And that doesn't mean you accept every thought that comes up either as a result of the feelings or the thought that was the source of the feeling you're experiencing.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know, you still have to be in control of your own narrative, no matter what you're facing, what you're feeling, or what you're thinking. And not a lot of people, I can't speak for a lot of people, but I know some people who that's really hard for, especially when we have all these different responsibilities, all these different things that we're taxed with in life that we're trying to create or overcome. It's difficult to say, hey, I write the story. I can let the thoughts just pass and I can let the feelings flow. I can feel the feelings, think the thoughts, but I can still consciously make a choice.
Yep.
It's very difficult because a lot of people don't separate their identities from their thoughts and their feelings.
Right.
They believe that they're a part of who they are. It's a part of what you're experiencing, but I view them as signals. It's information about what I'm experiencing and what I need and what I want. And so when I'm feeling and when I'm thinking, I'm always trying to figure out, where is this trying to lead me? What is this showing me about myself and my experience? But I think that's also facing your shadow. Some people don't want to see or face the darkness within themselves because we just want to pursue, perfect, be this, be that. It's like, who are you? Both light and dark. I don't believe in good and bad, but both light and dark. Who are you? And can you accept yourself in wholeness, love yourself in wholeness, and pursue your purpose and your vision from that state of wholeness? Because none of us are perfect, in I guess our human terms, but in God's eyes, He already included everything about us in the plan.
Right.
God knew about the scar in your left eye. He knew about your anxiety. He knew about your impulsive spending. He knew about all that when you were tasked with your assignment. And when we accept that, we can start to see the beauty within ourselves and our journeys. And that's radical. That's radical.
It is.
When you not only don't let the world define you, you don't let your own thoughts and feelings define you. You at your heart, at your core, is what defines you and defines or sets the destination you're pursuing. And that's powerful. Us in this part. Okay. I had to sit with that one. It kind of blew my own mind. Where do you believe being radical is leading you?
I feel like God is calling me to do something that is bigger than me. But I also believe that God will call me to do things that I just don't know about yet. So I don't have a specific, definite answer for where I feel like being a radical woman is leading me. But I know that I'm here to fulfill the Great Commission. Like, I know that I was put on earth for God's purpose. God has a plan for my life. Whatever goes on in my life, I am simply a vessel. We talk about that a lot, but I know I'm just a vessel. No matter what I go through, no matter what comes out of my mouth, no matter what. Like, sometimes the things that I do that scare me are not for me. They are for other people, because I am here for God's purpose, to like whatever God's plan is for my life, that's where I feel like it's taking me, because I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it because he told me to.
Really great.
Right.
I like that. And so I know, okay, you're talking about your faith, your belief in God, and just your obedience to God. I know that requires not one, but several leaps of faith.
Yeah.
How do you navigate balancing your radicalness and your faith, even in the face of fear?
Prayer. I feel like these are such like
Prayer.
no, I mean it's true. I feel like these are such like churchy answers.
They're authentic to you.
And it's true. It's like it don't, and it's not as simple as pray and he answers. It's no. It's I pray multiple times every day for a week for the same thing, and I wait. And I'm like, okay, maybe if I read the Bible, he'll tell me something. No, it's like I am like patience and prayer. Because if I wasn't patient, I haven't been patient my whole life. I have not always been patient. God is really, really working on me. God is really, really working on me. But I know for me, we talked about it earlier. Just I can be very ambitious. Like, okay, God, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do whatever. Like I am, when I find an interest in something, I've already looked into how I can do it, how much it's gonna cost, XYZ. Like I've already made a plan for how I'm gonna do XYZ, but I have to make sure that I'm moving when God tells me to move. I have to make sure that whatever I think I'm doing for God, I'm actually doing. Like whatever I think I'm doing that's supposed to go right, I'm actually doing, and he's actually blessing it. So I pray a lot, and I don't always feel like he answers right away, but that's where the patience comes in. So how I feel like I manage being radical and being fearful, it is really easy for me to remember that things that come out of confusion are not from God. So when there are thoughts in my head and it's thoughts of doubt and confusion and they disrupt my peace, I think, okay, that maybe that's not from God. Like maybe this thought that you shouldn't do this, you don't have no money, you shouldn't do this, you've already got XYZ on your plate, you shouldn't do this because why should you do it? Maybe those thoughts aren't from God. Like these aren't even logical thoughts. These are anxiety. Like these are anxious thoughts. This is anxiety speaking over me. And I think for me, because I've had so much experience with anxiety, I know how it makes my body feel. I know it's shown up in different ways in my life and in my body that I can recognize, like, okay, I'm feeling anxious. And being anxious is different from feeling convicted. So when I'm feeling convicted, I can tell, like, all right, what I'm doing is not right. What I'm doing, I'm not supposed to be doing. Let me backtrack. Let me rethink. Let me come up with a new game plan. But when I feel anxious, it's like you are just having a moment. You are having some doubtful thoughts. It's okay, but you can get through it. Like what you are feeling is temporary and cannot be compared to the relief that you'll feel after you do XYZ. You know? Like starting the podcast. Don't nobody want to hear your voice. You could be right, but God won't leave me alone about it.
Oh no.
And me starting the podcast, me just being obedient is more important than me being scared that nobody will listen to my podcast.
Yeah.
And I was proven, and I did it. I got over the anxiety. It took years.
You know, we know.
Yeah, like
you know, we know.
It took years, but then I overcame it, and then I was proved right. Like people listen to the podcast, and it was way more important for me to listen to God anyway. So I think it's just recognizing the difference between what are anxious thoughts, what are fearful thoughts, and what you are really like, what God is really telling me to do, or like what I'm really being called. Not like what's really knocking at my door.
2,000 years later.
Welcome back to the vault. After a brief transition, we are back. And as you can see, we've changed settings because, like Ki'Amber said, whoever told us it doesn't rain in Southern California, they lied. They lied. They lied. But the show must go on. So we ended off on a conversation about the importance of mental health. Mm-hmm. We also talked about the different ways being radical is influenced by the women around us, our community, but also being radical in facing your truth and expressing your truth. Mm-hmm. Give us more. Just give us more. The people are wondering, okay, y'all just came from the car, y'all out the rain. What does it mean to be radical in this moment, after this day we've had in this experience?
Being radical means being vulnerable. Being radical means being consistent regardless of what you're feeling or what your circumstances are. So, right, we came out of the car. We were at the park. It started to rain in the park. That didn't stop us. We were at the park. We got stopped by a guard. That didn't stop us. We just pivoted. We found another place. When that place didn't work, we came here. We pivoted. You didn't let anything stop you from what your assignment was. You know what I mean? If I had said, I'm just not into this, I think we should just give up. That should have been your sign to be like, nah, we doing this. Being a radical person is, like I said earlier, being authentic, being genuine to what you want, what you feel, being honest about what you want and what you feel, regardless of how that makes the other people around you feel. Without considering that too much, because we should always be kind and thoughtful and considerate and sweet people, but we should not be using that to cripple us either.
So do you believe today our sisterhood displayed the characteristics you just described?
Yeah, I think today, even off camera, we've had some really hard conversations. We've had some really honest conversations. We've had some hard conversations, and we've had conversations that will further strengthen and deepen us as women who are attempting to be vulnerable, as women who are attempting to find ourselves and grow in ourselves, but then also women who are attempting to build a relationship and a sisterhood with one another. And I think we both value being genuine to ourselves and when we show up in other spaces, and then allowing that space for us to show up in whatever way is most honest to us, and accepting that. Well, you can put this out if you want, but it's when you said you weren't feeling good, it's I'm completely prepared to be around you. I'm completely prepared to hold space for you to not feel good, and for you to, if you wanna sulk and we watch Bluey all day, I'm completely prepared to be around that. Me too. Me too. But it's I'm completely prepared for that, because I want you to be able to show up in a way that you feel like you don't have to hide. You know what I'm saying? And I would expect you to do the same for me. Or if I feel like, I don't have enough room in this relationship, I gotta let you know. It's my job to make sure that we're holding space for each other. So no, I definitely think that the relationship we have, the sisterhood that we've been showing to each other, has been a great example of what it means to be radical, because we've still been honest about ourselves with each other.
I love that. And I know the podcast is about sisterhood, spirituality, and self-awareness.
Yeah.
And the reason I was so adamant about displaying my sisterhoods and my brotherhood in different spaces, but most importantly in the ways that are most authentic to us, is because I don't want people to believe that when you have your tribe and true friendship, you have to show up perfectly. No. I want them to know that, A, you don't have to do it alone. That's why I promote sisterhood. And B, some of the greatest healing and experiences comes from sharing your truth with those who love you and that you love.
No, that's the truth.
And I believe that trusting your community is an act of radicalness in itself.
I agree.
And so, when you mentioned how I didn't feel good, I knew last night before I laid down, I'm not feeling good. I woke up in pain. I'm okay, I'm going to rest as long as I can until I feel led to get up. Got up, and I could have easily said, I'm not about to put on this podcast recording gear, put on some sweats. I'm going to tell Ki'Amber I can't do it, and I'm going to let it go. But I just did not want to disappoint you, but also I did not want to neglect our friendship. And that, who would have thought, would have been the medicine I needed to be able to be consistent in my own purpose. Mm-hmm. So you never know how just a radical obedience to God can manifest through you just wanting to be accountable with your loved ones, or through your loved ones holding you accountable. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you for that.
No, yeah. I'm like, I am proud and excited and happy to hold space for people I love. It's like, especially when I feel like it is not in a way that is weighted on me, because I don't take accountability for how other people feel. I don't take responsibility for how other people feel, especially if I feel like I had no part in it. But if there's something that I can do to help, at the very least, be present. That's something that I love to do, because like I said before, I want you to feel like you have space. Like you have space in my heart, you have space in my presence. And it's really like what you said. When you can take the time to be like honest with the people around you, when you can take the time to be open, honest, and transparent, and let those people hold space for you. I mean, I always tell the classmates, like, try your friends out. A lot of us are scared to let our friends make space for us, or to be open, honest, and transparent with our friends, because we're scared of being judged. And I completely understand that. And I always tell the classmates, give your friends a try. Like, test them out. And if they're not making space for you, if they're not responding in a way that is healthy for your growth, get them out of here. Like, make them kick rocks. So it's like, you're right. Being honest and open with the people around you is a huge part of radical acceptance. It's a huge part of being authentically you, because once your people around you accept you for who you are, it becomes way easier for you to go out into the world and be who you really want to be. I know that's how it is for me. My friends know who I am. They know who I am. They know what riles me up. They know what gets me excited. They know what makes me passionate. And they know that when I step out into the world, these are the things that I stand for. These are the things that I don't tolerate. So that it's never, if anything ever happens, y'all already know me. It's never a surprise, because I'm allowed, they hold space for me to say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what bothers me. These are the things in the world that I want to change. So I think, like you said, sharing with the people around you, that's one of the biggest steps to becoming more authentically you, more radical in who you want to be.
You want to know what I was thinking about when you were talking?
Yes.
Man, a little over a year ago,
Girl.
we both did episodes on each other's podcast.
Yeah.
And the conversation was so different from this.
Yeah.
Because the conversation was about how we fear expressing our needs.
Yeah.
How it's uncomfortable sometimes sharing who you are. How our healing journeys are so personal and private to us, because we have a hard time trusting how other people will respond to our truth. Are others going to show up for me the way that I show up for them?
Yeah.
So to be here in 2024, and our conversation is like, oh, I need my sisters. Oh, I need my brothers. Oh, I value my mother and my grandmother for all that they share and do.
That's beautiful.
I've forgiven my father for this and that, and I'm open to opening my life up to have him in it in a deeper way long term. This is different, but it came from radically accepting where we were and who we were at the time, but also actively making the choice of, hey, I want to be better. And I cannot control other people. I cannot change many of the things that go on in the world. But man, I could at least pursue peace and freedom here. Yeah. I have the autonomy to do that.
Wow. You're right. No, you're right. Like, wow. Like, it's so, I love reflection. And I love, like, seeing the positive changes. But it's like, you're right. Literally, Silent Killer was about, like, it was about all the ways that we get oppressed.
It was self-inflicted when you think about it.
Yeah. But it's like, right, we took that time, we did that work, we gave our friends a try, like we accepted ourselves, and then we let other people in. And we are definitely being rewarded.
We are. I'm thinking like, wow, this whole time, I think I told you this earlier. You pray for love. You pray that God reveals who's really there for you. You pray sometimes to let go of what doesn't serve you. But do we? Right. God, if this person don't mean me well. But it's like, do we ever stop and pray that God opens our eyes, and our hearts to see and receive the love that is already placed for us before us?
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Just have to make sure. You know what? I'll never forget it. You and I were in City Park. It was me, you, and Yasmin.
Oh, I love that.
And loved that day. And I'll never forget, I was in the middle of a really big decision. And you and I had talked about it a whole lot, and we stumbled upon the conversation of love, how to find love. And I'll never forget, you were telling me, like, you have been studying the Bible and you have been paying attention to all the ways that God shows love. And that conversation, to even today, well, I'm getting back to it now, that even today shifted my mindset into, man, what are the different ways that God is showing me love now? Not when I pray. I mean, yes, when I pray, but it's like not just when I pray, not just when I'm seeking His word, not just when I'm in church. How can I pursue that fire that I feel for God, that knowledge that I know God loves me, even when I'm not deeply in worship? And just by existing, by stopping and smelling the roses. Like, I've been saying that to myself and to the classmates for a little bit now, like, slow down. Pay attention to the love that is around you. The people that you call friends. That's why I'm so big on friendships, because that's a huge part, like, who you're around is a huge part of a reflection of where you are in life. So it's like, the people around you, how they show love. What are their acts of love? Well, what are their love languages? Are they showing you that? Can you embrace that? What are the ways that you enjoy showing love? What are the things that make you feel happy and blissful? It's like, I notice God's love everywhere. I notice God's love everywhere, His grace and His mercy everywhere. And then I notice the areas, that helps me notice the areas where He is calling me to be patient. Where He's calling me to be closer to Him. Where He's calling me to show love to other people. I can't even remember what made me get on that. But I know that conversation has helped me a lot when it comes to just, that conversation has helped me a lot, period. It's helped reshape my brain a lot, especially because I'm a person that can really go, and then stopping and being like, okay, like, let's stop and really think about life. Let's stop and think about God's love. Let's stop and, like, really take a breather and feel the breeze that's going around. Watch the trees that are moving. Yeah, I can't remember what made me say that, but I remember that conversation from about a year ago.
I remember that conversation too. You bring it up often though,
because it meant a lot to me.
You do.
Because you know why? You know why? Because the decision that I was really struggling with, once you said that, I started looking for it in those areas, and I started to actually see it, and it scared me. I started to see it, and I was like, "Oh shoot, she was right!" Like, oh my God, there's actually love here. Like, I'm very nervous and uncomfortable about this, and it caused me to, like, really make a shift. So I say it a lot because that conversation actually really had an impact on me. Yeah. There's a book that I need to share with you.
Oh Lord! Every time you share a book with me, it makes me cry sometimes.
Oh my gosh! Did you even get the last book I sent you?
Yesterday I cried.
Yes.
No, I did not get yesterday.
You need to get yesterday.
I ordered it off Amazon. They canceled my order. So I'm like,
well, that's not a sign. If it's a sign of anything, it's a sign that the devil is attacking you. You need to order that book.
I thought about the book last week. I'm like, okay,
you need to get the book.
Okay, I'll get the book. I just finished a book. I think I read it in like 2 hours on the flight. It was so good. So yeah, I'm loving to read. But I can't believe you remember that conversation.
Oh yeah,
because it's so much context around that conversation that just came up. Because I was in a season of coming out of seeking love in the wrong places, and not just seeking it within, but realizing that there's love all around me. And so that was like the precursor to where I am now. So it's a little creepy you brought it up, because I guess I never realized how much I transformed. But it's because I woke up one day and got tired of accepting what I was accepting. Like, I got so tired. I'm like, I'm young, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent, but most importantly, everything I do is out of pure intentions for the greater good, for God's people, God's plans, God's animals. I'm not moving from a place of illness ever in my life. So why would I ever struggle for love, or settle in love, or sacrifice myself for love, or suffer out of the name of love? Like, no, I wanted to see how God showed love, so I can be able to identify that within myself, implement that in my practices, and then see it in other people. Now I see God's love everywhere. Even when somebody pisses me off, I'll say thank you. For real. Even when stuff's not going my way. Like, yesterday when I was confused, I looked in the mirror, I said, thank you, God. Did I mean it? Probably not. But I still said thank you, God, because I was just like, it's love here. It's all love. And I think, man, to be open to give and receive love is one of the most radical versions of rebellion that exists.
That's true.
That's true. Especially in a world that can be filled with hatred, greed, envy, and war. To love people beyond what's going on, beyond what they do, beyond how they make you feel, beyond what you think about them, that's a superpower. But I've learned to love people as they are, where they are. Including myself.
No more, no less. Literally for no more than what they are, for no less than what they are. That's
right where they are.
Yes.
Right there. I don't have any expectation. If you didn't change or if you do change, I will still love you. But sometimes I realize another form of being radical in my journey has been, though I love you and accept you, when God calls me to level 800 and I'm leaving level 500 and you're still at level 500, that doesn't mean I'm not going to love you. That means I will always love you from my level 800.
Right.
And you're welcome to come up here. And when you come up here, I will greet you with open arms. I will greet you with probably even more love than I had at first, because now you're in a space to receive more love and understanding. But I will not come back to level 500, and I will not keep myself at level 500.
Yeah.
I have to keep evolving. I have to.
I feel like that's something that's been coming up for me lately. I already told you, like, I feel like there's a shift that's going on with my community. And I feel like I say this all the time. Like, I feel like God is always in some type of cycle. Like, I feel like he's always like, don't get too comfortable, out with the old and with the new. And I accept it. I'm just trying to go with you, go with the flow. But I feel that. I feel that with you. Like, I feel like in some areas I'm being called higher. And I think I'm finally learning the whole, you can't take everybody with you. And that's such a difficult lesson for me. That's such a difficult lesson for me. So it's interesting that you say that and that you bring that up.
That's true. I feel like that's always a lesson I'm learning. Yeah, always. I don't really struggle with letting go or holding on anymore. I think I struggle with knowing how to love without fear. I'm getting over it, but it's like the idea of, I know that God is going to pull people out and push people in, pull people out and push people in. But sometimes loving people and trusting that regardless of how people are pulled out of your life, that it's of God, that's kind of hard. Yeah. Because you never know what God is going to do or how God is going to show up to radically remove what no longer serves what he's called you to do or what he's called you to. And I think that's the scary part. That's the scary part. But that's why I say love is the most radical act of rebellion there is, because you can't guard your heart and stop loving and stop expressing yourself and your truth just because you may experience a negative outcome or a consequence or an unpleasant experience from it. You gotta keep putting your love into the world, because you never know who's praying for exactly what you have. Yeah, you know, and that's why I keep doing this podcast. For real, I don't know who is crying themselves to sleep on the verge of giving up, and they're like, God, I need to sign. And this just pops up, right place, right time, and they hear us say, man, you have the power to change your life. Your anxiety won't handicap you, it won't stop you. Societal or systemic ideals and beliefs are not your truth, they're not your identity. You don't know who needed to hear that, to get up and go another day. That's true. So that's why I do. Even when I'm not beat to the gods, even when I gotta move from the car to the park to the hotel room, I'm gonna still keep going, because this is my form of radical obedience to God. And this is God's loving grace in the flesh, in action. So I think when you start to view yourself as a vessel of God, or even as a reflection or an extension of God, you cannot revoke or withhold love out of you. I agree. It's counterproductive.
I agree. I'm like, God has never moved out of anything but love. God is love. God is love. He is literally the representation. So no, I'm with you. And it's like love is always changing. So you're right. It is the most radical thing you can do is to love, because it means that you accept the ebbs and flows of love. You accept the ups and downs. You accept the fact that love is never going to stay the same. You accept that while your heart is being pulled one way, up one way, is being pulled down another way, and that's okay. Like, that's completely okay. The multiple truths in life and in love, you can accept that. So no, I agree.
Life is a paradox. Trust me, multiple things indeed exist at one time. We can be fearful but still love. We can be insecure but still confident. We can be unqualified but still promoted.
Yeah.
I don't know what made me say that one, but hey, we're gonna roll with it. Either way, it's all about faith. So I feel like you can't. So I don't feel like I know you shouldn't talk about radicalness and not talk about the higher power that got your life. You know, I don't say you can't or you never will, and I don't believe you should. I believe that through radicalness, anyone that's ever did a radical act, especially if it was on behalf of change, collective change, there was a higher power at play, and spirituality and religion really play a major role in encouraging you to take those leaps and bounds. You just never know what change you're going to make long term. You don't. So radicalness isn't just an act of self-commitment or commitments to our sisters. It's a commitment to everybody. Truly, it's accepting that you play a major part in the change. Not only are you the change, you're part of the change collectively. And that's when we'll see the changes that the divine is leading us to. So that's radical to me. I dare to think differently. I dare to perceive it differently. And I dare to create spaces where me and my friends can talk about God without fear. That's radical to me. And that same radicalness is what has freed us from so many limitations, from so much oppression. That is where freedom lies. And our ability to push beyond the barriers and limitations. You know me, Queen Rap. Okay. What advice would you offer to a young Black woman who is striving to embrace her fierceness and make radical choices, but may feel discouraged?
Multiple things are coming to my mind right now.
Give us all of
because I'm thinking of little me. Whenever I never talk about it. I never talk about something I've never been through. So whenever it's like, oh, give somebody advice, I'm always thinking about little me. And one of the things that's coming to my mind is be honest. Don't be afraid to be honest with yourself about how you feel, good or bad, because emotions, there is no such thing as a bad emotion. Emotions just need to be felt. So be honest with yourself about how you feel. Be honest with other people about how you feel and what you think. And don't be afraid of how they respond, because people wouldn't ask if they didn't want to know. And if they did ask and they didn't want to know, then that's on them. You'll never feel bad for being honest. You might feel disappointed in somebody's reaction to you being honest, but honesty will free you. The truth will set you free is a real thing. And I think when you start being honest with other people and yourself, that's when you can start really, because, and I want to make that clear, like, being a radical woman is not, I just be out here doing anything, and anything I set my mind to, and I do it, and I'm just super determined, I'm super wild and free. It's not that. It's, I make decisions out of love. It's I make decisions that I want to do, not out of fear of what people think I should do, not out of anxiety of I'm scared of stepping on toes. I'm scared of making other people uncomfortable. I don't want to disappoint anybody. No, being a radical person or a radical woman is, I make my own decisions out of love, even when it looks crazy and when it seems crazy, I make my own decisions out of love and out of faith. So I feel like, be honest. The truth will set you free. Like, being honest with yourself and being honest with the people around you. You'll never feel bad for being honest, but you will feel bad for lying to yourself. That will keep you in a really bad cycle. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to be honest. I really think that's the best advice I could give. Because
yourself and with your community.
Yeah.
And with God too.
Yeah, God already knows. So it's
Absolutely.
no reason. It's no reason why you should feel like you should have to lie to him, because that's a real thing. Like you be scared to tell God things, and it's like, well, I know you already know, but I be having these thoughts and I be doing these things on the low, and it's like, yeah, I know. Confess your sins.
Yeah.
And how free you'll feel after that is surprising. Keep trying. Keep trying. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the better you'll get. Another thing that I feel like I could say is that there's no right or wrong.
Please say it again for the people in the back.
Yeah.
I keep saying that on podcast episodes.
That's one thing that I had to learn, and I feel like I'm still learning because it was so deeply ingrained in me when I was young. There is no right or wrong, or every decision is not like a life or death decision. Nobody's going to die if you pick red over green. Nobody's gonna die. The world is not gonna end. Like nobody's gonna die if you pick a lavender latte over a matcha latte. Nobody's going to die if you decide to wear the blue dress instead of the red jeans. Like it's okay to pick what you really want. It's okay to have your own opinion. It's okay to do what you really want, to make decisions out of your own heart, your own desires. Like, there is not always a right or wrong. Yeah.
Just and we're all right. Let's talk about the future.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the future. So, looking ahead, what are your aspirations for Black women who are seeking fierceness, greater fierceness, and greater freedom through radical choices? And that's like Black women as a whole.
Yeah.
Like our age, older than us, younger than us. What are your hopes and aspirations looking for?
Honestly, my hopes are that people can be kinder to themselves and each other. I think people are really mean to other people because they're not kind to themselves. And I always think there's a reason for that. Like, I truly believe that if something is wrong with somebody, there's something that can be done about it with a little bit of therapy and a little bit of self-reflection. Like, I really believe we'll have real peace. Like, if everybody just loved themselves a little more. Tim Ross literally said this. If everybody loved themselves a little more and were like honest, open, and transparent with themselves, about themselves, with their community, about themselves, we will have world peace. So I think as people and as women learn to love and accept themselves, that they are just kinder to each other. And I literally know that's what's going to happen, because that's what happens. Like, the way that you talk to your neighbor is how you talk to yourself, you know?
You believe that?
Yes.
That's very ironic.
Yes.
I told you about the lady in traffic yesterday, right? And how her first instinct, because she thought I was going to steal her parking spot. Maya had already said, friend, that's her spot, don't do it. I wasn't going to do it, but Maya said it. Maya is my turn friend. So if Maya says, be rational, I instantly listen, because I know, okay, this is serious. So I was going to drive past the spot, Ki'Amber, and she tried to hit the rental car. She goes ballistic, honking the horn. Mind you, I had already driven past the spot. She had already made up in her mind
that she was going to say something.
That she had already made up in her mind the narrative that I was going to cut her off, take her spot, and do ill towards her because someone else had already done it to her. So when she was cussing me off, flipping me off and stuff, I didn't respond. I let down the window and I said, look, my intention was not that. I wasn't going to take your spot. It's yours. Like, you have a blessed day. God bless you. You know, peace and love. And I let her know. I told her twice. I'm like, I'm not like that. Other people might be like that. I'm not like that. And it shocked me and Maya how, even though she was coming at me with so much aggression, I was so calm. I talked to her softly. I didn't react. And I keep telling my friends, I keep telling y'all this story because I wasn't always like that. It shocked me that my response to that was grace. So when you just said how you talk to your neighbors, how you talk to yourself, I said, oh my God.
No, it's true.
That's crazy.
Because imagine, Lord knows what that woman has been through.
Exactly.
How people have talked to her as she's grown up. And the voice that she has internalized and now speaks back to her, that makes her think it's okay to just cuss everybody else out. It's like, yeah, that's why you can't take stuff like that personal.
You can't take it personal.
You can't. And the way that you were able to respond with grace, right, you weren't always like that, but you talk to yourself differently.
I do.
You give yourself
I do.
grace. Like
I do.
You have done a lot of work to be kind to yourself. And not everybody's doing that. Because a lot of people think there's nothing wrong with what they do and how they talk to themselves and how they talk to other people. They don't think there's anything wrong with them. But I believe we all got a twinge or something wrong with us. Like, we all could do a better job of being kinder to ourselves, which would make us be a better neighbor.
And rewriting the narrative, not only individually, but collectively.
Yeah.
That's my hope for Black women as a whole, is through embodying radical acceptance and making radical choices from a space of love, like you said, that we begin to love ourselves so much that it reflects in our encounters and our actions.
Yeah.
And we rewrite the narrative of what it means to be a Black woman.
Yeah.
I no longer want being a Black woman to be associated with struggle.
Yeah.
I no longer want being a Black woman to be sacrificing yourself on behalf of the betterment of or the happiness of other people. I no longer want us to be painted as the villains of Black men.
Yeah.
I want us to be seen for who we are authentically.
Yeah.
We all are 100% unique. We all have something beautiful to offer. We all have our flaws, but if you actually see us and love us through them, you will realize underneath those flaws is even more love to be discovered, even more beauty to be discovered and to be created through our expression of our authenticity and our love. So I'm hoping that we can just rewrite our narrative. It doesn't have to be how other people perceive us. You know, we can't change that. But I no longer want people's negative perceptions to Black women to be the script that we live our lives off of. I don't want that to be our prescription. We don't have to consume that. We don't have to feed ourselves with that.
But I don't think the majority of us do that. I do see I know that I'm exposed to a lot of Black women who, through their circumstances, had to be harder. They did not have the luxury of having a soft life. It sucks, but it's true. But I think that at least our generation and the generation before us, I don't know about the ones before them. Yeah. I know that our generation and the generation before us is at least trying.
We are trying.
They're trying. They're trying to be kinder to themselves. They're reminding themselves that they're not crazy for having to talk to somebody and that they need a little help and that it's important to be kinder to their neighbor and to their sister. You know, they're not cussing each other out in the name of impulse. You know, I feel like we are rewriting the narrative, but of course there's always work that could be done.
Now, I'm not saying we aren't rewriting the narrative, but what I am saying is I want us to see moving forward that collectively, through our empowerment of ourselves and each other, we will be able to rewrite the narrative. Like, I know we are actively trying to, we actively are, but there are still some people who they are heavily influenced by what the culture has said about us. Even, you know, I'm a Reddit girl. I don't keep telling you that. Yes. Even on Reddit, like, I'll be in the like black hair, the black skincare, like subreddits, and I will see Black women ask for help or Black women ask for support, and there will be someone in the comments that'll just say something so horrible. Yeah. And so my comment was really to women who have those experiences. It's like, you don't have to prescribe to their perception. Yeah. Don't let that stop you from making radical choices on behalf of yourself and on behalf of those that you love. Don't let how the world tries to paint us be how you perceive yourself. Because I know you're like, we don't do that, we trying. I agree. We really are trying, and we're doing very well. But there are days where there's a Black woman who's like, oh my God, my hair's not done. I got to call out of work. That's true. Oh my God, I can't have my nails that long. What are people going to say about me? That's true. Ooh, I can't wear this red dress. It's too fitted around the thighs. You know how they do Black women. Oh, I can't tell my man how I felt about him saying that. He's going to think I'm being angry or aggressive or I'm doing too much. Yeah. I want us to even rewrite in our own minds how we perceive comments like that. Because we said it earlier, it's in our psyches. It's in our psyches. I know there's been some times and some days you've woken up and you have done or said something and you caught yourself and been like, where did that come from? Where did that belief come from? And I hope moving forward that we can become so radical in our faith, in our love, in our grace, and in our choices, that things like that no longer define us, even in our unconscious and subconscious minds. Like you said, we're making waves. We're making waves. This generation, our mom's generations, I'm even giving our grandmothers their flowers. We rewriting the narrative.
And to realize that women haven't even had as many rights as we have for long.
Yeah.
We haven't had this many rights for that long. Owning property, running for vice president of the United States. Well, she didn't run, but still, it counts. That's powerful. We can get education. We can have credit cards. People think those are minor things, but it's like 2 or 3 grapes ago, we didn't have access to that. We're making waves, but now those waves are more so here and here and here. And that's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah.
That's what I'm most excited for. So how do you believe women making radical choices upon Okay. How do you believe women radically choosing themselves benefits generations long term?
I think kids pick up what they see their moms do. With their parents, of course, what their parents do. But I think kids are sponges. So we're always watching. And I'm sure you can think of some things that you do that you know you picked up from your mom. Like consciously or unconsciously, good or bad, I know that you can think of one habit that you do because you picked up from your mom.
Look at this hotel room. You don't see none of my stuff just laying out all over the place. You didn't see none of my stuff in that bathroom.
Yeah.
That's my mama.
It's true. And I think if people saw their parents or their community choosing themselves more, not in a selfish way, but in an honest way, it would make, like I said, for a very peaceful generation. Like I think if people saw their moms, their aunts moving in a way that, like I said, the word is not selfish. It's not like, oh, I'm just doing what I want and I'm not thinking of anybody. But doing things unapologetically, like doing things for themselves unapologetically, I think it would give moms a break. I think it would give parents a break, a breather. And I think kids will understand their parents a whole lot more. Because I've been having this conversation recently. There are some things that kids can't respect their parents for because they don't understand them. And they don't understand them because parents are not always being honest. And I think if women were more open and honest about the sacrifices that they make, if they were more honest about the things that they really wanted to do, if they chose themselves more, it would create a generation who thinks it's okay for me to choose myself, regardless of what anybody else thinks, regardless of how that makes people feel. If I need me, then it's okay for me to choose myself.
I like that. I appreciate you for bringing up that perspective. Because when I think about, like, I have a passion for Black family development.
Yeah.
And I'm so passionate about the podcast because one day the very women who watch this podcast will be mothers. Yeah. And so the idea of a generation of mothers who practice self-care, but also teach their daughters and sons the power of self-care. Women who are self-aware and can see motherhood as an opportunity to evolve and not as I gotta lose myself and lose everything and I gotta struggle and like no, it's an opportunity to evolve.
Yeah.
It can
to
be
learn yourself in a new life.
To see a version of yourself and experience the very love you praised God for when you were 16 on that board. Yeah, I just
that's real.
Literally.
That's real.
I want to see Black women love themselves because our entire community benefits when Black women love themselves.
That's true.
I firmly believe that. And I said that in the last episode. Our men benefit when we love ourselves. If you like women, our women benefit when we love ourselves. Our community, our children, everyone benefits when a Black woman nurtures and takes care of herself, but also her village nurtures her. Yeah. Her community nurtures her. Yeah. And when you show up in a way that you are prioritizing your health and well-being, and your children can see that, they model those healthy behaviors. Yes. Mom never goes to bed without flossing. I'm big on flossing, by the way. Black people are leading in gingivitis. You can Google that. Please floss twice a day. Thank you. But even like, oh, I see Mom flossing twice a day. Mom, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm flossing. Let me give it a try, and you welcome them and you let them do it. Next thing you know, you don't have to wonder why your 25-year-old has gingivitis. They don't. That's a skill that they saw you do. They wanted to model that behavior. And through, you know how they say, do as I say? No, do as I do and as I say.
Say yes.
Yeah, because I am a model. I have integrity.
And I want to show you how to lead a secure lifestyle through my own existence.
And to that same point, if I see mom flossing twice a day, every day, because that's how she takes care of herself and that's her routine. But then one day I don't see mom flossing. You know what? It's been a week since 7:25.
Accountability.
Mom usually floss at 7:15. What you doing? I can walk up to mom and I can say, "Hey, you haven't flossed. What's going on?" And I can see there's a difference in mom's behavior. And it doesn't become, and because mom has been taking care of herself, it's not a flash out. It's not, I just don't feel like it today. Go to your room, lay down. No, it's not that. It's, mom's not feeling good today. She's been trying to take care of herself. If we can be kinder to ourselves, we can be kinder in the way we express ourselves to other people. So it's mom's not feeling good today. I for whatever reason, work's been really beating me down. So I think I just want to rest today. And that allows the kid to be like, okay, it's okay to have bad days. Bad days are temporary. Bad days are normal. And even mom has bad days. And when you have bad days, sometimes it throws you on your routine. But in a week, I'm going to be touching, hey, I know you've been feeling bad, but get to flossing, and that's okay too. That's okay too. Like, it's okay to let the people in your community in so that they can help you. So that when you fall off your game, you're not by yourself.
And it teaches boundaries too.
Yeah, that's
it
true.
Teaches boundaries too. When you are able to allow your children to make those bonds with you, to see when those highs and lows, when you require and need space, when you need a self-care day, you can communicate that, and I don't think you'll always get a lot of resistance or pushback if you're developing that at a young age.
No, that's true.
So if your 4-year-old knows, like, okay, mom don't play about nap time.
Right.
I gotta go sleep. Because mom also has her green tea and reads her book while I'm napping. And mom knows she gotta do that 6 times a week to keep her sanity. We hold each other accountable. But as I get older, I respect mom's boundaries. I know that when mom is picking me up from soccer practice, don't touch the radio. Mom had a long day. Like, these are things that you form through growing up. Yeah. So you can't, I don't say you can't. I don't want women to resent their children moving forward because they didn't prioritize themselves. They actively set themselves up to sacrifice themselves. Yeah. Now, I'm not a mother. I know it requires a level of sacrifice. Yeah. But as a person who is somebody's child, who is someone's goddaughter, who is someone's granddaughter, who is someone's mentee, many people's mentees, I would love to see them take better care of themselves. And when they do take care of themselves, I love it and I admire it. Because then when I have my low moments, I can say, this great woman lost her father. And when she lost her father, she didn't say, I'm not going to the funeral, I'm going to stay up and work. She took 2 weeks off. She went to the beach. She prayed. She rested. And when she came back, she still took another week off. I love to see the Black women I look up to taking care of themselves. I love to see my friends be open and honest about what season they're in and to say, I'm not going to lie. I missed the prayer call by accident because honestly, I just needed to rest. I appreciate that and I respect that because you are making sure that your cup is full and you are demonstrating to me that you value and love yourself enough to know when to rest, when to slow down, when to nurture you. That's a skill I want to see from Black women more. That's something I wish I could have learned, not from my life, but through my mom. It's moments where, like, even now, my mom just went and had a whole pamper day for her birthday. And I wasn't like, ooh, mom, take me with you. I was like, that's my girl. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Because now I won't feel guilt when I spend money on myself. I won't feel guilt when I take care of me. Because that's modeled in the women in my environment. I wish someone would have told me when I was younger, don't stress so much. It'll throw your hormonal balance off. Breathe, rest, meditate. Because it would have saved me from so many problems growing up now. But they didn't know that. They didn't know it. So I don't resent them. Right. I don't resent them. But I appreciate God for putting me in this position. Because now I know I don't have children, but I can tell other women, please breathe. Please slow down. Please rest. Please seek support. Because your mental health and your emotional health indeed affects your physical and your spiritual health long term. Long term. And there are things I've experienced health-wise that I beat myself up over because I did not know this information and I did not see healthy habits modeled in the women around me. So people make fun of me because I be like I'm seeking. They make fun of me like, girl, what you talking about? But it's like, no, I have to take care of myself like that. I don't want diabetes. I don't gout. I don't have high blood pressure. Who does?
Yeah.
But through not seeing models of people who prioritize their health and well-being, honestly, I said I got to stop the cycle. We talk about generational curses and breaking cycles. We don't talk about it when it comes to health. Let's talk about it. So I just want to see more Black women take care of themselves. Black people in general. I don't want us to continue to feel like we have to burn out and sacrifice ourselves to succeed. We can rest. Rest is just as productive as making money. Spending time with your family or asking your family, hey, I need a little space. I need to go get away by myself is just as important as anything else you're pursuing in abundance and wealth. It's equally as valuable. No, probably more valuable.
No, it is.
More valuable.
It is. I was just having a conversation with my friend a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about how like there's so many things. You and I were kind of talking about it earlier. That life is so much more than a job. Life is so much more than having something to put on your resume. You have a work resume, cool, but what's on your life resume? It's like
heart resume.
What's on your what's on your life resume? It's like our society is so like it's not productive. It's not important if it's not making you money. It's not important if it's not paying your bills. It's not productive if it's not producing instant gratification. But there are so many things that we are lacking as a society, especially emotionally, especially physically, definitely physically, but especially like emotionally and spiritually because they don't make us money. Yeah, and I think that's a huge part of why people stop taking care of themselves because time is money and life is hard. Like it's really hard to pay bills, to live life that people really put themselves on the back burner. But no, it's so important for you to stop thinking like it's not productive if it doesn't make you money. No, it's productive if it's bettering you. It's productive if it's good for you. Even if it's hard, even if it's long-term satisfaction and not short-term, invest in yourself. Like pour into you.
It pays off.
Yeah, it does.
And it's a price and a reward money cannot buy.
Yeah.
Money cannot buy you great health, mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually.
Yeah.
Money can't buy you deep, genuine connection. Sometimes the very sacrifices you don't want to make, like, I'm going to go to work even though I'm sick because I need money, is a sacrifice that's worth the long-term benefit.
That's true.
I don't know about everybody else. I want to be around long enough to meet my grandchildren. Maybe even my great-grandchildren if God grants me that. I want to be able to pass those stories down, to teach them how to cook and tell them different little family secrets, leave them little nice trinkets and such. That requires the work to be done now.
Yep.
So some days I don't want to get up and go work out. Some days I'm like, I tell my workout partner, I'm like, I don't know what we should do. She's like, come on, I'm about to pick you up. Because it pays off long term. And honestly, I don't know if you've ever heard this, fall in love with the journey or the process and not the destination. I'm working on that currently. Because falling in love with the destination will have you sacrificing
Burnt out.
Your limbs, your eyesight, everything.
It'll have you working too hard and too fast. You'll ignore all of your growth. You'll ignore the whole process because you were working towards that thing. And what happens when you get to the destination? You've dissociated through the entire journey. You're depleted, you're dissociated, and you get that goal, and then what? Congratulations. What's next? You're looking for the next thing. That's the problem. That's the problem with us. We're always looking for the next thing and not taking enough time to assess with ourselves, to check in with ourselves on the journey. Where am I? How am I feeling? Have I connected with my community lately? We're not asking ourselves those questions.
And honestly, what you just triggered was the thought of how I felt after graduating from college. The whole weekend of graduation, I did not feel how I thought I would feel. I struggled, suffered, sacrificed, and sometimes settled and sabotaged my own mental health and spiritual well-being to reach that point. And people were like, oh my God, you got a touring, you got a full rocks law school. Like, oh my God, you should be so happy. I felt numb. Like, this was not what I expected.
Yeah.
The pictures are beautiful. The videos are nice. The trophies and the degree are nice to look at. But will I say it wasn't worth everything I went through? I won't say that. Because the physical rewards and the validation I got externally didn't have anything on these awards. the rewards I got from what I experienced in that time. So I'm like, I'm not gonna say I didn't care about graduation, but all those years of burning out and overworking to not feel anything really, I told God I never want to put that much energy into something and not be elated and thrilled and screaming and crying and overflowing with joy and bliss when I achieve it. So that's why now my journey looks slower. My journey looks very different. From the outside looking in, it's like, what are you doing? You just sabotaged a perfectly good path. I'm like, I left a path where I wasn't unhappy to follow a path that God promised me would lead me to eternal happiness. That when I left this earth, I would be very satisfied with the choices I made, with the love I gave and received. And that's a great reward for anything. And the woman I'm becoming now in my journey, that's a greater reward than getting a law degree. I'll be honest. My mental well-being is so worth not making a check from a job that makes me feel shitty. Forgive me. But it's so worth it. Being single and alone at times is so worth it instead of settling for people who don't see my value or worth. I'm willing to sacrifice the very things people say we need to just feel peace within myself. And honestly, I feel happier and freer that way. So I'm learning to trust the journey because if you're not happy in the present, if you don't know how to seek and create happiness in the now, the destination won't be anything but just another checkpoint for you.
Yeah, you're so right. You're right.
Look at us growing. Look at us growing. Now, this is a new segment. They're going to be like, what? New segment. I like that. I'm going to have you sing on the new outro. Listen. So, I found that in all the recordings I've done, and this is my fourth. Y'all just seeing the segment. This is my fourth. Everyone has had questions for me. So instead of me just waiting on you to ask me random questions and I'm caught off guard, I would like to know, do you have any questions to ask me when you see me? Ooh. Don't get scared.
No, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. How do you feel? What's something that you feel you're being called to be radical in, but it's hard for you? Like you're being called to choose yourself. You're being called to make a bold decision, but it's a little scary and it's a little hard.
The reason this question is so ironic is because A, you know the answer. And B, I've made millions of radical choices since I told you graduation day. Like, since that day, realizing I wasn't happy with what I accomplished, I've made a lot of radical choices in the pursuit of not peace and freedom, but in the pursuit of truth. The truth. My truth. The way. My way. And so, something that I'm being called to be radical about and that I'm not being radical about is two things. The pursuit of my true vision in life, which is ingrained, and I have it written in several places over the course of my life. It's written in journals and notebooks everywhere. It's even notes on my phone. This grand vision, and I've been taking different pieces, and I get letters from God about who's involved and what to do. But I've yet to sit down and make a SMART goals. I've yet to sit down and make a business plan. I've yet to sit down and make a vision board. I haven't. The second thing is the podcast. I'm making radical steps for the podcast, but full transparency, I don't believe in it as much as I want to and need to. And God is calling me to believe. Like, that has been a strong word for me throughout my walk in self-love. And I tell people this all the time. My self-love journey quickly turned into a self-awareness journey that quickly turned to a return to source, which is God. And I've been called to believe since day one. And I struggle with believing. Because I'm like, God, you saying this, you showing me this, but how I know this real? How I know this God and I'm not just having an overactive imagination? So I do it out of obedience, but I haven't reached a point where I fully believe in it. Where I'm like, this is going to be big. This is going to come into be something that changes my life, that elevates my family to a new status in all levels. This is going to be something that my kids will eat off of. Like, I haven't even accepted that the reason God has certain people as guests is because one day people are going to watch this and say, how did she have all these celebrities on her podcast when she was only 22? How did you even know this many big names at only 22? You know, and so those are two things that I'm being called to be radical about, but I haven't reached a point of radically accepting my greatness, believing in it, and taking inspired action.
You're trying to take so much control. I'm like, you want to be able to see it. You want to be able to see it. You want to take a hold of it. You want too much control. I'm like, you got to think about the definition of faith. Like, of course, what I've learned is you can do things and you can speak things, yes, out of obedience, but will you really get the full fruition if you're not doing it out of faith? You got to let go. Like, you got to let go of the stronghold that you have of what your vision is or what control you think you have. You got to let that go so that God can really move through you. Because if God is giving you something, sometimes God, He tells us to do stuff and it's just a test. You know what I'm saying? But if God is giving you something, you got to let Him work through you. You got to.
I be trying. Like I'm saying, I'll be obedient, but like radicalness would be that surrender component. Kujitoa, I believe it means, I know it means surrender. I believe it's Swahili, but it's Kujitoa. It means to surrender. And God dropped that word in my head a couple months ago. And I was like, what is Kujitoa? I'm literally at work constantly saying Kujitoa. I'm like, what language am I speaking? So I get out the translator and I'm like, Kujitoa. It's like to surrender. I was like, wow. So I know that's my step.
So what's stopping you?
I'm
gonna say fear.
No, I wasn't about to say fear. Fear don't have that much power. I actually did a podcast episode called Letter to Myself. It's not visual. I would encourage y'all to go listen to it. That was a very painful episode, and sometimes I want to delete it, but I leave it because it's raw, and it was a foreshadow to what my life is now. I knew at that point I was about to go into my junior year of college. I knew in that moment I wasn't going to law school. I knew in that moment I wasn't going to become a lawyer. I knew in that moment that whatever I was pursuing, I was going to eventually have to let it go. And the pain and the fear and the sadness that came over me is in that episode. And so I left that note to myself apologizing because I thought this version of myself would be disappointed. So what's stopping me is I'm so used to having a path where I can control it and I can see it. And I'm like, listen, I know I'm thriving because, you know, Dr. Whoever gave me a 104 on my exam, where I know I'm thriving because I'm at work and, you know, they ain't fired me yet. You know, they ain't fired me yet. Like, I had so much external validation to confirm I was doing what was right, but I didn't feel it here. I didn't feel that satisfaction in my soul. So now that I'm doing what comes naturally and God is literally making a way. It's no tripod. It's no like fancy lighting, but somehow it came together. I didn't bring any equipment. It came together. God continues to do that for this podcast. And the more He does that, the more I realize this is my path.
Oh my God, it's the validation.
It is. Yeah. It is. And that's what scares me. I'm relearning. I'm learning how to let go, but I'm relearning what type of validation matters.
Yeah.
And I'm learning to trust myself and what feels right.
Yeah.
Because now I live my life based on not what feels good. And I say this all the time. Walking with God might not always feel good, but it should damn near feel right.
It should give you peace. Even when it's uncomfortable, it should give you peace.
It should feel like I know. I know. Like, I can't tell you how I know, but it's right for me. Yeah. I know this is right for me. Because no matter how many times I try to put it down, He don't let me rest. He gave me the name of this podcast. He gave me the logo for this podcast, the concept. I never knew I was going to have visitors until I literally started doing it and found a note from 3 years ago in a journal where I wrote that I wanted to bring visitors into the vault, my friends specifically, to talk about taboo topics. And so this is my purpose. But I'm so used to having a clear idea and all this validation that I'm readjusting. So now I can follow what feels good, even though I've been indoctrinated And it's so engraved in my psyche to pursue what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
To neglect what I feel, to neglect my own needs. Because in order to be successful, I'm going to have to sacrifice the very things that feel good or that I want. And it's hard even now pursuing my purpose because your environment, your community matters. And so I do have people in my community. I'll be specific. In my family who operate off of fear. And there are days where I'm like, God, I trust you. We on the move. We doing the podcast. I know this is my path. And then somebody in my family be like, you sure traveling a lot for somebody who quit their job. And it's like,
yeah.
Now I'm looking at my account like, should I be doing this? Is this the right thing? Am I crazy? I should have just kept my job. Why am I doing this? Now I'm doubting my path.
Yeah.
That right there is why I was telling you earlier. I know I'm being called to move to a new space. Because as much as I trust God and I have faith, those types of comments from people who are operating out of fear will have you questioning yourself,
You're right.
questioning your path, questioning if God's voice is God's voice or if you're freaking crazy.
You're right.
And that, yeah. I'm going to leave it on that note. That, yeah. Yeah. The poverty mindset, the scarcity mindset, the fear is.
Yeah, it can't work when you are a person that works in abundance. When you are a person that does not see lack but trust God.
One of my mentors told me that. She said, when you operate in abundance, you cannot. She didn't say you shouldn't or you won't. You cannot thrive amongst people who operate from scarcity.
It's true.
You can't.
Because you're going to be on level 800 and you're going to have to come back down for them at level 500 and you just say you're not going back.
Not.
So no, you're right.
And those projections, ooh.
Yeah, they can stunt you.
They can.
Because that's what happened to them. That's the scary part. It's a cycle.
And they speak about things that they've never experienced. And I have to remind myself, like, don't want to live my limited and temporary life based off the fears of other people.
Right.
Or do I want to take my risks, make my failures? And if all else fails, I know I made that choice because I wanted to. This was my choice. And I can always trace my steps back. So from graduation day to this exact moment, I can tell you exactly why I made every choice I made. And the only ones that I hate I made were the ones that I was listening to other people. That job, I was listening to other people. And I never told you prior to that, when I was living on my own post-graduation, I was making money out of nowhere. Thousands of dollars just to do what I love. Web design. Event planning, and I was not going into anybody's office. I wasn't working for anybody. I did full contract work. I was in the middle of building a business plan laid out, business meetings every week, 8-9 o'clock in the morning with royalty, and we killing it every week. And then I let people get in my head, and then I go back home and I get this job, and now I'm like, man, when I was on my own, God was providing. When I was on my own, God encouraged me to never settle. When I was on my own, I did not have to lose the lifestyle I wanted or the very things that made me feel good materially and spiritually. Because God wanted me to have those things. They weren't bad things. They were things that made me feel good. And God's like, you're being obedient. I don't care if you have a gym membership. I don't care if you want to shop at Whole Foods. I'll provide. Okay, you say you want to drink spring water instead of regular water? That don't faze me, baby. You will have spring water. God has no problem providing for my needs, no matter how expensive or luxurious they are, when my intentions are pure. When God knows I can cry and I can say, God, I'm so angry, I don't have enough money. He's like, what do you need? I want to be able to eat fresh fruit. Why do you want to eat fresh fruit? I want my body to be healthy so you can speak through me, use me so I can help more people. Okay, fresh fruit, you got it. But when you think like that and you get around people who don't, Ki'Amber, you start to think, man, these oranges, knowing you need vitamin C, these oranges are $3.49 a pound. Let me put these back and I'm going to just go get this Minute Maid that has 48 grams of added sugars in it. Then I get the oranges. My family like, you over here eating oranges and stuff. How much you pay for them oranges? You got a massage. Who pays $50 for somebody to rub their body?
I love massages.
I not only love them, I need them to survive. I know it's not a joke. I need them. I've been in 3 car accidents. I have to get them every 2 to 3 months to be able to function the way that I do. I don't go on them hikes just the grace of God. It be the grace of God and the grace of my masseuse. They don't get that. So when people live in poverty and self-sacrifice, your attempts to live in abundance, not your attempts, you living in abundance, thinking in abundance, and prioritizing self-care is such a radical and rebellious act to them because it seems wasteful.
Yeah.
It seems delusional. It seems crazy. And it makes me doubt my choices. Yeah. So I really should have answered your question with, Ki'Amber, the reason I don't believe and I don't trust is not because I don't think I can or I don't think it's possible or because I don't see the steps. It's because I have too many people in my ear who have me constantly switching back and forth between spirit and ego, spirit and ego, spirit and ego. When I operate in spirit, I feel good and I put my shades on. You know, what did he say? Oh, who was that?
Hop up on my wheel.
Can I swag up? No, not that! No, it's in the Bible. Oh, I don't want to mess it up. Did Jesus tell Peter to walk out of the boat and keep his eyes on him?
Peter. Yes.
I had to make sure it was Peter.
Yes.
I feel like Peter.
Yes.
But God gave me special shades. I'm like, look at me.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look at God. I feel peace. I feel excitement. I see things manifested. But oh boy, when I hear my parents and my grandparents like, you don't know how to swim? Get out that water. And they not talking about get back in the boat. We just gonna say, friend, you in the boat, me and you getting out the boat together. They ain't in the boat with us getting out the boat. Friend, they on shore.
The shore. Yes.
Friend, they on shore.
Yes.
Screaming for dear life with floaties on. No intentions to get in the water.
Yes.
And they're like, what you doing? It's sharks out there.
But they can't even experience, they can't imagine what we're experiencing out there.
Because they
don't even see Jesus out there. Because they're too far back.
They scared to get in the boat.
Yeah.
They're scared to get in the boat. This is no shame. This is facts. They don't see it.
Yeah.
So to them it looks crazy. Not only are you in this boat in water, you can't swim. You walking on the water. There's sharks out there. You going further and further out. It's getting dangerous. We can't help you. We can't save you. You straying too far from our comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing you know, you letting what they say get to you. You take your eyes off Jesus, you fucking drown. Freaking drown. You freaking drown. So that's where I am. Like, I have to change my environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. I know that. I've been saying that since the pilot episode. I need to change my environment. I need to change my environment. And it's going to take a radical and probably crazy amount of faith to do what I'm being called to do. Mm-hmm. They're going to think I'm nuts. Nutso. You not only turn down a 4-year law school, you're going to turn down a damn scholarship to get your damn master's and doctorate too? Are you stupid? But it's like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I care what God thinks. I don't even care what God thinks. I care what God knows and what God feels. Because God don't think, God knows. I care about that. And worst person to disappoint is the very source that created me and that lives within me. Jared Green. What did Jared say? Jared Green is my brother, my spiritual brother, and my mentor. Okay. And Jared, we call him Jared the Dreamer. Mm-hmm. Jared literally told me, he asked me, he said, would you rather disappoint your fleshly father or your holy father? Mm-hmm. That changed my life. Mm-hmm. That changed my life. Because at the time, I was so fearful of disappointing my dad by not going to law school. Mm-hmm. But I was telling Jared, I know God is calling me to do this. I know He is. And Jared's like, if you know God is calling you, what is stopping you? Yeah. What is stopping you? Yeah. And that's when I realized sometimes you're going to disappoint the very people you love to be obedient to the one who loves you most.
No, that's one thing. That is one thing I tell people a lot. When it comes to making your own decisions, when it comes to making decisions, not making decisions out of fear, not making decisions out of what other people think. It's like, when you die and you give an account to God about what you did with the time that He gave you, why would you want to say that you spent most of that time living out of fear of what other people think, of what other people say, of how you let other people get into your head? That's something that I tell people literally all the time. Like, why would you want that to be your story? When I give an account to God about the time that He gave me and all the instructions that He gave me, I want to be able to say I fulfilled them. I don't want it to be like,
oh, well, such and such said that I wasn't going to make no money, and, such and such said that I was going to be by myself if I left, because that's not going to matter.
And what if God showed you not only what your life was, but what your life could have been?
But the thing is, if you had only had faith.
Exactly.
And that's the thing for me. We talked about it earlier. It's like, faith is what's going to get you there. Not your family. Not like that. We love our family. We need our community. But your family ain't going to get you there. God is going to get you there, which means he's going to want you to come out the boat. You have to come out of the boat. Because when you die and you give an account of your life, you don't want it to be a whole bunch of excuses. You don't want it to be, well, Lord, I heard your idea and I thought it was great. You know what I'm saying? But I was scared. That's not what I want to tell God.
Even people who believe in karma or reincarnation, just think about how, okay, you believe you're going to die and keep repeating lessons if you don't learn them now. Why not give this life your best full effort? Because who wants to come back to Earth?
As a roach.
No! Literally! But I was just saying Earth in general.
Oh.
I love Mother Earth, but this is ghetto. And so if you don't believe in life
to live.
Yeah.
A lot of life to
if you
live.
don't believe in heaven and hell, you believe in reincarnation, or you believe in universal
You better
karma,
do it right the first time.
you might as well put your best foot forward in this life.
Yeah, you're right.
Honey, if you think you're going to repeat it, hey, you might as well repeat it, having learned as much as you could in this life.
Mm-hmm.
So I live life like I don't get another one.
Mm-hmm.
A, because I'm like, God, I know it's a higher place than this. Come on, man. Don't be stingy. Like, don't be secretive. Like, let me slide by you. But I don't want to die and God or the Most High shows me what my life could have been versus what my life was. And I'm like, oh, man, I should just trust God.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get up there and ain't no screens, ain't no nothing. Everybody like, yo, you did it. Like, you did it. You exceeded the plan. You exceeded expectations. Yes, God knew you would do it, but man, you even surprised God sometimes because you did such a phenomenal job. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm trying to get promoted. I'm trying to get promoted. Seriously, I want to be promoted in the eyes of the Most High, in the heart of the Most High. I want to be, and I tell people this, a breathtaking reflection of God's own heart. Mm-hmm. Literally, like that's what I want you to see when you see me, like God's heart in a flesh. If nobody else is a reflection of God's love and grace, baby, I'm his heart. Mm-hmm. I'm his heart. Mm-hmm. Call me cocky, call me all that, baby. If he Jesus' dad, he my dad too. That means if he made Jesus perfectly in his image, I am perfect in his image as well. Mm-hmm. And I have the full potential to be that through the guidance that's coming through in my own heart. Mm-hmm. Not through what people expect of me, not what people tell me. It's nice to get guidance, but end of the day, only you know your path. Mm-hmm. And I learned that from a mentor. He texted me that 2 weeks ago, and I told him I was about to quit my job. He said, only you know your path. Mm-hmm. You got to trust yourself. Mm-hmm. So, it's a journey, but hey, like I said, we're trying to be promoted. I'm speaking for both of us. Yeah. You want to get there and be like, man, looking back at everything, thank you, God. Mm-hmm. Thank you. That was a beautiful journey, a beautiful experience. There was nothing I didn't see and do that I wanted to see and do. Right. I didn't miss any opportunity. Right.
I don't want to die with nothing on the table. I'm not lying.
No,
I don't want to die with anything on the table.
That's why I take risk. Healthy risk, of course. Strategic risk. I take risks. People say I'm crazy because I want to go skydiving on my 23rd birthday. I'm going to die one day anyways. But to do that, to live and to walk on the ground again, that's a different type of fearlessness. I want that for myself. And so I want to see every part of earth that God allows me to. I want to meet people from all walks of life. I want to pour into people and make a difference in people's lives that I don't even know yet. I want to leave my mark here. And you just set me up. I just realized I'm over here talking about all this purpose and this passion. I'm like, this girl set me up with that question.
I didn't set you up. But I think our whole conversation was about you choosing yourself. And I think you and I have had conversations all day about what you feel like God is calling you to do. You got to get there. And if I'm just the one to ask the right questions and to bring the right things out of you, that's your business.
Make sure y'all watch our podcast. What school didn't teach me on all platforms.
Yes.
Yeah, because clearly
come be classmates.
Right, she just schooled me in my own vault. But seriously, like, you just brought it full circle. So I'm sitting here like, dang, you right. Like, What am I not taking radical action on as a radical woman who loves herself and is obedient to the Most High?
Right.
Nope.
Well, it look like you drafting that business plan.
Man, most likely. And the crazy part is, before, you know how I just told you me and Royalty were actively in pursuit of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Phoenix on a soul sabbatical.
Mm-hmm.
I had a whole podcast episode about it. Didn't talk about the soul sabbatical, just talked about the hike.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in Phoenix for a week for a retreat with a Black woman who was a Christian spiritual healer.
Mm-hmm.
God led me to her. And mind you, I'm going to literally visit a stranger in a city and state where I know nobody.
Yeah.
And I did that fearlessly. It was crazy. I can't wait to tell the story on like national TV. It was so crazy. And through that process with her, I got back to the airport. I got on the flight. And before I got on the flight, I called Royalty. I said, this is what we're going to do with our business. She said, okay, let's do a trial run. We never did. I just went to visit her in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. We meditate by water. We both open our eyes at the same time and say the same thing out our mouths. And it was freaky. Because it was like the same voice was talking to both of us, but neither of us were speaking out loud, nor were we looking at each other. Mm-hmm. We said, okay, that's sign 3 in a May to now March span. Mm-hmm. She calls me today. We get to talking. And the last thing I say is, we're going to meditate on this. And tonight, when I finish recording, when you finish working, we need to have an answer on what we're about to do. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think us going in this circle on this carousel is benefiting us. We the only 2 people on this carousel, and God ain't letting us off till we figure out why He placed us here together. Yeah. What are we meant to do? This whole day of a journey you just took me on to this point on this podcast just gave me my answer. So I appreciate you. I'm just a vessel. Yeah, she said I'm just a vessel. Jay the vessel. Yeah. Yes. Jay the vessel. But yes, I appreciate you. I enjoyed this. I didn't expect a podcast episode to be healing. I've had one that was just outright fun. One that brought me so much closer to my brother. One that challenged me to go to new heights and face my fears. Mm-hmm. But this one has encouraged me to heal. Not to heal, but to embrace my healing and apply it through action. To let my passion for God be seen in the production of my purpose. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to pursue your purpose, but are you producing your purpose?
Right. Are you actively applying?
Through radical action, radical faith, and radical love. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, any other words you want to leave us, radical woman?
Don't be afraid to speak your truth. That's all I want to leave you with. Don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be afraid of yourself. Don't be afraid of other people, because it's you before them. That's it. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I still have 2 questions for you. Okay. Leave the Venusians with an affirmation, please.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to give you my favorite one. Because it's the one that helps me remember that there is no right and wrong. Mm-hmm. So I want everybody to take a deep breath and clench your jaw, clench your shoulders. You can do hard things. I can do hard things. You can do hard things. I like that. That has brought me through like many, even with small things. Like even when I feel like there are conversations that I need to have with somebody, or there's a Band-Aid that I don't want to rip off, I'd be like, I could do hard things. I can do hard things. Yeah. It's my favorite one.
I like that. All right, my favorite question to ask every VIV is, and well, it's not a question, but in one word, what does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means that I am free to express myself. However I'm feeling, whether it is what's considered to be a positive or a negative emotion, whether I am ready to be super loud and super boisterous, or whether I just want to be quiet and still for the day, whether I want to run around and dance, or whether I want to do long stretches and yoga that day, whoever I want to be that day, wherever I want to be that day, that I have the freedom to
be that person without any limitations.
So what's your word?
What that defines freedom?
Your one word.
My one word that defines freedom is expression.
I was hoping you said expression.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, that's what it is.
Freedom is expression.
Definitely.
I love this. I get a different word every time it blows my mind. I don't know if you see our Friday post. No, I think it's our Wednesday post.
Yes, I see it.
But our freedom is.
Mhm.
And for a long time, me and my sister just kind of went off intuition. So it'd be like, what are we going through in this season? What's the word that comes up? We'll always be on the same page about the word.
Mhm.
But now that the words come from the guest, it's so interesting. It's so interesting to see how y'all define freedom and having to not only incorporate that in my life, but to see my sister, aka our production and content specialist, and our
Love you, appreciate
designer.
you. You're amazing.
But it's nice to share with her and for it to click for her. And I see her actively applying that definition of freedom in her weeks every week. So what you're doing doesn't just benefit me or my sister or the Venusians. It benefits the energy and it benefits our source, which is the Most High. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We love you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we are glad to have you in the vault. We know you'll be back though. You know.
Oh yeah. something about what school didn't teach me at the Venusian ball. Like we just can't stay away from each other. You know?
One day we'll have our own talk show host. Talk show.
No, yeah, I believe it.
For tuning into the Venusian Ball. I hope that in this next week of your life, you embody all of the traits you believe make you a radical woman or man. But I love you all. I appreciate you all so much. Please tune back in 2 weeks on the next Wednesday or bi-weekly Wednesday. And in the meantime, go check out What School Didn't Teach Me on all platforms, because as much as I love you all as Venusians, y'all need to be in the classroom too. So when you're not in the vault, you should be in the classroom, learning from the classroom and then coming into the vault to learn to apply it in your life.
Yeah.
But my loves, thank you for your support. Please continue to grow and evolve with me on this journey. And don't get used to me being this vulnerable, because getting used to it, my friends are clearly going to keep making me do it. And most importantly, remember that you are the key. So don't be free, be freer.
Look at people who did radical things. They were sick and tired. And of course, I'm sure they were scared. And I'm
Absolutely.
I'm sure they were scared. I'm sure there were a lot of people saying, you're crazy, you shouldn't do this.
A lot of challenges.
I'm sure they lost a lot of people because of what they were trying to do. But I also know they trusted God. Like, I know for a fact you can go so far if you trust God.
We are 28 minutes. All right. In action. That happens to everybody. Are you ready to be free?
Baby.